What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for November 30th, 2020. For those of you guys that don't know this show or this is your first time here, this is where I put all of the official Star Citizen news into one package on Mondays and insert my opinions in a little bit as well. But we don't have a lot of time here, so if you do enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button, leave any comments below, and hit subscribe if you are new here and are enjoying the content. Well, let's just jump right into it because we have a ton of stuff to go through. Starting out with patch notes, we only had one patch this week, and it's 3.11.1i, and these are just minor fixes for ships and vehicles falling through planets, and more importantly, making sure that the Nomad is available for rent at the expo. So that is it for patch notes. Moving on to roadmap updates, we have not the typical updates. We have an update on what the new roadmap will be like, but no roadmap updates in terms of progress. So they started out with what to expect from the new roadmap, and they shared that they will only be showing updates from upstream teams only. These are the teams that work on things like features, gameplay, content, that kind of stuff. And what downstream teams are more like UI and audio, like the finishing touches kind of teams. So that's sort of what we can expect from them. They also talked about release view versus progress view. And this is really important because progress view is the new version. It's more of a snapshot of what everybody's doing right now in the moment and in the near future. But what release view is the current roadmap that we have now. Like in 3.13, we plan on doing these features. And the thing is that release view is the reason why we are doing all this work to get progress view, is because release view is flawed. So I don't understand why they're still keeping release view there. And I imagine they're not going to update it that regularly because they don't want to deal with the problems that it causes. And they kind of did touch on this in the post as well. More on that is the next section where they talk about the fact that none of this is a promise. This was an issue with release view, and it's still going to be an issue with progress view. And they kind of address the fact that, you know, this might not be for you kind of thing, because if you can't handle the information that we're providing, maybe it's not going to be very good for you to consume this type of information. And they do touch on that in the post here. They also provided a little bit of a video for you guys to check out what, you know, how interacting with the roadmap would look like, but it's not surprising even from the images that we've seen previously. Moving on to video updates, we had an Inside Star Citizen this week, and this one's kind of weird. It doesn't really make sense because the Star Runner's been out for a couple weeks now. We've already all seen it. We've played with it, discussed it, gave feedback on it, and now they're showing it on ISC, which is kind of weird. But what I'll do with the content that they provided this week is bundle up the unique parts of the Star Runner and put it in to a kind of a squished together package, because these are things that you might not know about the ship other than, you know, the way it looks and things like that. So enjoy.
And then we also have all these physicalized buttons where we actually mapped out all of the buttons that we're going to need for the ship, and then add the functionality to those buttons as we implement the gameplay associated with them.
The server room. When data running comes online, this is going to be one of the busiest hubs of this ship. It's going to have a lot of little busy bee activity going around, changing out the server racks, trying to get the data that you're specifically looking for. This is just due to A, we can play chess. I worked on that for quite a bit, but we got it there. And B, it's that room where players can get up, kind of group up before a mission, talk about what they're going to do, how they're going to approach it, and then execute. Scanning room is going to be a really neat room. Players, when they go in there right now, it functions as a support seat. So you need somebody else to run extra radar contacts or whatever, you can see it from that seat. But in the future, the gameplay of that room, it's really going to come alive.
Obviously, the buttons are pretty cool. The extremely vague descriptions of what you would do in the server room as well as the scanning room clearly shows like the lack of direction for those features right now, and the lack of discussion on them or anything with the artists towards designing the ship. We don't really know how the gameplay is going to function. I guess the clear highlight here is obviously that there's a working chessboard in the ship. I do plan on learning chess with it, but there's some bugs with interacting with it at the time. Up next was a sprint report, so let's just jump right into that right away. They started out with gas cloud tech. We've been seeing this for some time, but it really seems like it's coming now because they're just focused on the lighting aspects of it. So what they want to do is, if the gas cloud is closer to the star in the system, they want the colors to be more warm. If the gas cloud is further away, they want them to be more cool. So they're just kind of focusing on those aspects now. Refinery deck update, it's really just lighting the decks now. So after this, it's just smoke and atmosphere for it. So these seem like they're quite ready for 3.12 as well. The other one that I found the most interesting was they're showing interior areas of docking locations on all of these stations now, and it really feels like it's coming along. They're really focusing on the finer details of things rather than the actual functionality and implementation of them. So very much looking forward to these. I doubt we'll see them in 3.12. It's probably going to be an early next year thing, but the fact that they're spending so much time on it is quite exciting because docking is incredibly needed for larger ships. So that's one major feature out of the way to make Star Citizen come alive. Speaking of things that are alive, I guess, a bad segment, but more fire propagation tech stuff. So now these things will spread with wind speed, wind direction, and gravity. I mean, I find this stuff to be incredibly ridiculous that they go into this much detail in and I mean ridiculous in like a cool way, but also I wonder what kind of issues this will have with the server, all these calculations, but find it to be cool. I think it's going to make the engineer and anybody in a multi-crew ship have a lot more immersion, a lot more things to do while on the ship. Should be pretty cool. They also show the interior of the Star Lifter, and all these images are from the engineering deck on the second level, so it's just moving towards final art, but it's not quite there yet. I think another early next year feature to come online. The tank is also being worked on. You know, I have no idea what we would use it for currently in the game, but who doesn't want to own a tank, right? So I think that's pretty cool. We did not have an SCL this week because it was American Thanksgiving, and you know, all that is done in the LA studio, so they were obviously celebrating this Friday. But we also got during the Crusader Day was Reunion Part 1, which is part 1 of this basically movie they made that is, I think part 2 is coming on the 17th of December, and my reaction for it was really cool. And more importantly, if this is as cool as it is, how cool are the Squadron 42 cutscenes going to be? So, you know, Wing Commander games were never the most amazing gameplay I've ever played, but they had a great story. And, you know, whether it was interacting with NPCs in the early games or the cutscenes and interacting with NPCs in things like Wing Commander 3 and beyond, this is massively promising and kind of renewed my excitement for Squadron 42. Next, we have a new section, and it is the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo overview. We're going to start out with Crusader, Tumbrel, and Kruger Day and continue on throughout the Expo's days and just kind of give you small details of what they had. Crusader's offerings, they obviously, for the flyable ships, they have the Mercury, and for future ships, they have the Ares variants, the A2, C2, and M2, and Lando's favorite ship, the Crusader Genesis Starliner. For Tumbrel, obviously all these Cyclones are available, and for the future stuff, they have the tank that, again, we expect maybe sometime next year, and the Ranger variants are on sale as well. For Kruger's offering, you know, nothing new here. It's just the two variants, the P-52 Merlin and the P-72 Archimedes. For paints, they were all Star Runner paints. They're cool, I guess. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of them. The next day was MISC, and MISC's offerings are mostly flyable ships. So it's your standard offerings, nothing really to add to here. But for the future, MISC's capital ship was on sale, the Endeavor, and all of its attachments, as well as all the hull series from A to E that were on sale. E was one of the limited ships and is now sold out. For paints, I love the blue and black skin. It's already on my prospector in preparation for 312 and refining, and the polar skin is really cool as well. For Drake Day, Again, the flyable offerings have all been on sale before, so nothing crazy here. But for future stuff, we see the Drake Corsair, which is Drake's answer to the Star Runner and the Constellation, and the Vulture, which is an entry-level salvage ship. Paints, same for paints. Misk, basically the same ones, but they're on the Caterpillar. So I also got the blue and black one for mine. Alien Day is Apoa, Banu, and Asperia, and Apoa offered obviously the Xi'an Scout and the Nox, but the Santokiai is the ship that's coming in the future. For Banu, they have the Defender. The Merchantman is for the future, but this one has some drama with it. They raised the price from $350 to $450 without communicating anything to anybody. They used to justify like, oh, the ship got much larger. I think the original Banu price was $250. It's gone up $200 and has never been worked on in terms of anything we've seen in a sprint report or anything like that, and no communication as to why this has gone up in price. Asperia's offerings are the Blade and the Prowler that are flyable, and then the Talons are going to be available in 3.12, but they're on sale now. Paints, these were just Prowler black and blue, as well as polar paints. Moving on to RSI Day. Again, all the basic offerings for flyable ships, but for future ships, they had the RSI Perseus. This was the RSI gunship. It's $600. It is pretty cool. I don't understand how they did this, but with this ship, which I don't find that interesting, it's another military ship. It looks a lot like the Polaris, and they broke records with this. Single day records, and obviously records for November with this event. So it's pretty wild. The Apollo medical ship was also for sale, the Connie Taurus, and the Polaris Corvette that we mentioned before, which was also sold out for credits. Paints, they put the same paints on the Mantis, which is probably one of the least flown ships. I don't understand why they would choose these, but I think the only reason why would maybe be that the RSI Mantis was the only ship that was set up for these type of paints, but who knows. The final day was Best in Show. For offerings, they had insanely cool white paints with gold trim and cool shirts for anybody who owned any of the Best in Show ships. You can buy them during the expo as well, and you'll still get your paints. The paints are going to be delivered at the end of the expo. People are mad. People are mad they cannot buy their skins for if they own the shipping game later or whatever. For me, I feel like collectors, some of you are going to have to collect things in the game. You're not going to just be able to collect things for real money on the website and just say, look at my collection. Some of the things you're actually going to have to earn. And in the case for these paints, my feelings are that I have a couple of these and maybe I don't want them. Maybe I enjoy a different type of paint later on, and I say, I'm going to sell you one of the rarest skins in the game, and I'm going to do it in game for UEC. And one of those collectors can earn some money, buy some money, and purchase it that way. I don't understand the hysteria over these things. It is a video game, and the video game, again, I've said this I think every week, is not played on the website. So, sorry guys. Moving on to other updates, we had a jump point on the Crusader Mercury on a mushroom and a portfolio dealing with early encounters with the Xi'an, so that's pretty cool. We had the Perseus QandA, which, as always, is the same. Most of the thread is trying to figure out how they can fly this solo, so please ask real questions in the thread. The link will be in the description below. Turbulent. I saw a lot of people surprised by this, but I think it was obvious. They are hiring for their own studio that is going to develop for Star Citizen. So not only are we going to have 2 North American studios, but a third in Montreal. Obviously, they swapped stock with Turbulent last year. I think CR got a seat on the board of Turbulent, and they want 100 developers for this studio. They also have been making some key features in the game for like VoIP. They were all done in Montreal, and anything that is engaging in any sort of back-end database and inserting itself into the game, that's what Montreal works on. So the idea of them building worlds and having more interaction type things in the game just kind of makes sense to me. This is the proper continuation of that, and as well as utilizing a strong game dev market that's in Montreal. We know Ubisoft has a huge studio in Montreal, so getting some really quality devs out of Montreal makes a lot of sense. Moving on, we had a lore post. It was just an interview about AIE issues, not really anything cool. Sneak peek, this again looks like we're going to be getting gas clouds in 3.12. They're looking pretty neat. A new Flair, new. I feel like whenever they don't have time, they just go back to old stuff and just say, make it black and yellow. Test Squadron buys it, and they meet their goals for the month, and they're good. And the final thing we'll talk about today is a dev post about fire propagation. It is really detailed, pretty excited to have to deal with these at some point. Feel free to check out the thread yourself. Very cool. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I appreciate it. Gonna put this thing together for you guys, and yeah, if you haven't yet, make sure you check out our Intergalactic Aerospace Expo discussion on Answer the Call that we put out yesterday. So guys, once again, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy the video and you're not subscribed. And yeah, check out my Twitch stream, and we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.